This video will describe the class attendance policy as well as participation. So you may be thinking, what is good attendance that will help your grade? So you can think of the 4 P's to get a good attendance and participation grade. The first P is present. So that means you are in class and you are in class on time. If you miss the first part of class, that can mean that you don't catch all the information that's being presented. It could mean that the teacher or your classmates have to spend extra time to catch you up, or maybe you miss things. So this is in place so that everyone can use their time the best. The next P is prepared. That means you have your books, a writing implement, paper, and you finish the homework. So the writing implement and paper, those are there for you to take notes. You can also bring a laptop or other device to help you take notes. Research thus far has shown that handwriting notes is the best way to record what happens in class and give yourself information for later. But find the system that best works for you. Books are important because that we might be referring to them, and you can look at them directly. And if you own the book, you can take notes in it if you don't intend to sell it back or resell it. That means that you're more connected to the material that's happening in class, and there doesn't have to be extra time to try and find someone with a book that you can share with. Also, finished homework. If you finish the homework, a lot of times the homework is given as a tool to help you prepare for the ideas for the next class. We discuss the ideas in class to prepare you for subsequent assignments and to get you ready for ideas that may be part of major assignments or tests. Being prepared for the homework means that you're able to engage with discussions with your classmates. Also, pay attention. This is our third P. That means you're taking notes. You're understanding what's being said, and you're asking questions when you don't understand. If you're on your phone, what that can mean is that you're not able to listen to what's happening. That can also mean that when you're supposed to be helping a classmate or just having a discussion, you may not have been paying attention and you may have missed certain parts. So you're doing not only a disservice to yourself, but your classmates. It's not nearly as much fun to have a conversation with someone who doesn't know what's been going on or what's being discussed in class, which is connected to the fourth P, participate. That means that you're answering questions when I'm posing them to the class. You're asking questions as well. You're thinking about things that you're not sure about, and you're asking about them. Also, when there's group activities or pair activities, you're talking with your classmates, and you're having another way to express yourself. A lot of this class focuses on reading and writing, but I do want to still give the opportunity to have conversations, to listen, and to talk so that you're able to use different modalities to understand the content, especially because not everyone has their strengths in reading and writing, and some prefer to be oral learners and participators. So this is an opportunity for that. All right, so to be most successful in this class, I think and to think about how to do participation and attendance best, it's best to think of it like a job. So you wouldn't do things like texting when your boss is nearby and you're not on your break, or being late and not expect consequences. In the American workplace, a lot of jobs, especially the jobs when you're just starting out, are going to be watching you and making sure that you are attending on time, you're getting to work on time, and you're dedicated to your work during working hours. And another way to help you kind of think of this like a job is that at a job you get a paycheck, you get money, and in a class you get grades for your hard work. So another way to think of it is this must be earned. It's not something that's given or denied by the teacher, but it's something that's earned by the students. Another way to think of it is that if you have poor attendance at your job, you would get less of a paycheck. You wouldn't get money for time that you're not working at the job. And with a class, that means you get a lower grade if you are not in class as much. This ties to the idea that I want this to be a participatory class, and your contributions and coming to class and paying attention are benefiting not just yourself, but the rest of the class. Remember, you start the semester with a perfect score in attendance and participation, and the grade goes down as you do things like be late, not attend class, and do other activities. Remember, you do get 1 week worth of class participation and attendance there's no penalty. So that means if you don't come to class for a week, there's no penalty. If you are late multiple times, there's no penalty. However, after that 1 week's worth of points, what that means is that your grade is going to go down for subsequent lateness, subsequent missing classes, subsequent actions that are not being following the 4 Ps. And just like a job, that if you have really bad attendance, you would be fired at a job, and then if you have really bad attendance in a class, you would fail. Also like a job, in this class, there is vacation time and sick leave. So that means that you have, connected to the previous ideas, you have limited time off that doesn't count against you, 1 week a semester. So also at a job, you'd probably get a couple weeks a year outside of vacation time that wouldn't count against you if you don't show up. After that, you need to work with a special office or speak with your boss at your job or teacher at school or university to be excused. In a workplace situation, if you have an extended illness or you have a special situation such as bereavement, mourning the death of a family member, that would be something that you'd have to fill out special forms with and work with your boss and HR depending on the company. So you get vacation. The good news is you get vacation time off with school. It's naturally built in that there's multiple weeks per year where you get vacation time off. Compared to the American workplace, most workplaces give you about 2 weeks of vacation per year. So the disadvantage with the university is this vacation time is decided for you, but you get more of it. So remember that you do get this time off. You do get these opportunities to step away from the classroom, relax, and spend it however you'd like. There is that 1 week per semester that I said doesn't count against you. And this is kind of like, at a job. If you were to be sick or have a family emergency, or maybe you have to take care of a lot of other matters like taxes or other kinds of financial things, that would mean that you could use that time so long as you're discussing with generally, you still have to discuss this with your boss and let them know ahead of time about this, or contact them as soon as you know about that problem. You would let them know, and there wouldn't be penalty for some of the initial circumstances that would come up that are these more serious situations such as illness or other issues within the family. This 1 week per year is given to you or 1 week per semester is given to you in the classroom, and it's not intended for or to be thought about vacation or I just don't want to go to class. The idea is that there are going to be those times that you're sick. There are going to be those times that you have to take care of things for other classes or maybe other business-related or family-related matters. There are going to be those times you have to take care of those matters, and that's why we give you that grace. That's why we give you that 1 week off to take care of those times that are super important, that take you out of the classroom, that don't let you participate, that don't let you learn from the classroom, and don't let you contribute to your other classmates learning from your ideas. That said, classes and jobs will vary. Some are strict and require attendance. You'll find that there are jobs that require you to be at the office every day for a certain amount of time. I had a job, for example, where when I was 2 minutes late, my boss talked to me and said that was unacceptable. So it does happen where attendance can be very strict. And it can happen that at jobs where it is strict. However, you will find environments where they are permissive and they'll be more project focused. They'll just, so long as you're getting your work done by the deadlines, they don't care when you come to class. So you can work from home. You don't have to attend class. You don't have to go to the job as much. And there are those varieties. It's good if you can find what works for you and you can learn about the attendance that's required at the job, at the class, and things like that. And in this class, while there are substantial projects that are super important for you to get done, another important part of this class is participation. So let's think about how some of these policies and everything work in our classroom. So there are some other ways you can lose points besides just not coming. So even if you come to class and you're here and you sit in your seat the whole entire time, you can still lose points. Some ways that you might lose points are not being prepared. If you don't have your book, if you don't have your homework, if you are just sitting there and not able to participate, then that means you might lose points. If you're doing work for other classes, it might be the case that you have a big homework assignment due in your next class. That's one of those times that you should use that grace period of time that you get so that you can do the homework for your next class. That is super important, because if you're doing homework for another class, that means it's going to be hard for you to listen. That means it's going to be difficult for you to participate. And that means when maybe I pair someone with you, you're not going to be able to talk effectively with them and help them develop their ideas the best that they can. Another thing that can be distracting is if you are talking when the teacher or another classmate is talking. So this is another way you might lose points. And this is a way that you can show respect. And also, if you're talking while another classmate is the teacher or another classmate is talking to the whole class, one problem that could emerge is that the people sitting next to you can't hear what the teacher or your classmates are saying. So they lose out on information and you affect their ability to learn. Think about it in a job. If there was a meeting and your boss or another coworker were talking and you were to be having a private conversation, that would affect how the boss thinks of you. If you have a question, it's always best if you can raise your hand and ask, or wait for a moment when no one else is talking, so that way you're not disrupting class. Another thing, perhaps there's other people who have the same question as you. So if that's why you're talking to a classmate, you're trying to get some clarification, then that means if you're able to bring that question up, maybe other people can benefit from your question. Another way you might lose points in class is speaking in a language other than English for an extended period of time. I recognize that there are going to be times when it's so much more beneficial to get a quick explanation from a classmate whom you share a language with and get maybe a quick translation or a quick explanation if they understand and you don't understand. That's okay. I understand that. At the same time, I do recognize that it can be more beneficial if you get that explanation in English. So you're developing your metacognitive skills. You're developing your academic skills in English, not in your native language. So also there can be if you're in a setting where if you're working in a small group and you have a couple people who share your language, but then people who don't share your language, then what you're doing by speaking your language around the people who don't speak your language is you're isolating and excluding them from the conversation, from participating, and from developing their own skills during class. So again, a quick explanation or a quick translation can be really helpful and kind of cut out a lot of time, but I recommend as much as possible, please do be speaking in English so we're all connecting as a community and we're all sharing the experience together. Another way you can lose points is being on your phone for non-academic purposes. So some academic purposes that may support your classroom learning that would allow you to be on your phone during class would be if you had to look up a word, if you had to take a picture of class notes or something like that. Both of these, though, are better done by not by translation, so to look up a word, and not by taking pictures. You're going to learn more if you can get a translation or if you can get a definition of a word you don't know from a classmate, from a teacher, or from an English language dictionary. Because one of the things is, if you get a translation, the teacher can't look at that and say like, yes, that's the correct translation. So many words in English have so many different nuances or meanings that it's impossible to say what the translation might be and how that's correct. And if you're developing that skill, it's best if you can look up the definition, consider the context, and do this process in English so that you're also developing your metacognitive skills. Also, taking a picture of notes. You learn things so much better if you're able to write down what's happening. Just looking at a picture may mean that there's things you're confused about that you catch if you're writing it down, because you're internalizing and interpreting the words in a way that's not happening with taking a picture. You can ask those questions in that moment. So it's always better if you can write your own notes, but if you need to take that picture, it's okay. But again, writing your own notes is going to be better. So I've listed these as ways you can lose points. It's not a complete list, but it is a good starting point, and I think gives the nature of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people to participate. I'm looking for people to be engaged and people to be adding to the classroom dynamic and atmosphere. So let's think about what might be an excused absence. I've talked a lot about how important it is to be in class, but there are times when it's really going to be unavoidable and you have to miss class. So there are going to be instances such as extended illnesses or injuries. For situations like these, the best way to handle it is going to be working with SASC, the Student Ability Success Center. That is an office that helps students with disabilities as well as students who can't engage with the course for any variety of mental or physical reasons, including extended illnesses or injuries that may not be permanent. So I do recommend if something happens, reach out to them and see what they can do to help, because they're experts and they have training in the type of processes that go behind the scenes, working with doctors, working with other medical professionals. They'll be able to formulate the policy and let me know how I should be treating you and how I should be helping you in the class. Also, this makes it fair for other students so that we're working with official doctors and working for these legitimized reasons. Another thing that might be an excused absence is extended absences, such as a family emergency, such as bereavement, like a death in the family, or other issues that are coming up. So one way that you can handle that is working with academic advising, or come to my office hours and discuss. The best thing you can do is, if you know something is going to happen, you let me know beforehand, or you let me know as soon as it's happened. That way, it's better to be proactive than reactive, because that way I can help you and we can stay on top of class, because there are deadlines that I have to meet in terms of grades, and we can't put things off indefinitely, so that you can, and so it's best if I can help you stay on top of it and work with you. So I posted a letter here that is San Diego State University's medical excuse policy. If you would like a link to this document, I can provide it. But it's letting you know that as of 2011, if you need an excuse, then what needs to happen is that you would need to work with Student Ability Success Center, the academic advising, and also Student Health Services to get excused from class. This is also connected to the policy that before 2011, students were able to get documentation and excuses from the Student Health Center. That is no longer the case, but you can work with other offices to be excused. So, what is not an excused absence? And one non-excused absence is saying that you have a personal problem. One thing is you can come into my office hours and explain the nature of your personal problem, and I can work with you and determine whether or not that is something that would constitute not affecting your grade. Going on a family vacation is another thing that is not an excused absence. Studying for another class, appointments. You know when this class is taking place. Therefore, make sure you're scheduling appointments around it as much as possible. Sleeping in is not an excused absence. Working on homework for this class is not an excused absence. If there's a big essay due and you don't think you'll be able to complete it unless you miss class, then that means go ahead, stay home, have it count as one of the classes that, maybe one of your classes that doesn't count against you, or if it does count against you, then make a decision about what's going to be the best thing for you. Is it better to go to class and get those points, or is it better to stay home from class, lose those points, but really have a much better essay or other homework? An illness or doctor's appointment is not excused without SASC documentation. Driving a friend or family member to the airport is not excused, and car problems are not an excuse. What that means is that if you have car problems, then it can be one of those things where you have it worked out with, or you use it as one of your passes, one of the classes that doesn't count against you, or it just happens that it does count against you. And that, remember, one car breakdown isn't going to mean the difference between passing or failing this class. Lots of car breakdowns might contribute to that. So, in summary, attendance and participation must be earned. There are guidelines that are in place to help you be successful. And classroom policies reflect the policies in the American working world, where you earn your paycheck, you earn your grade. The goal with this is to create a participatory environment with flexibility, that 1 week of flexibility. It's not meant to be a punitive system. It's meant to foster a world or a classroom where people are engaged, coming to class, and participating. And last but not least, it's always best if you can be proactive with your absences rather than reactive. Thanks so much for watching.